Yo, what's up, y'all? So, today was a little different of a day. It was Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to y'all. If y'all celebrating or grilling outside, I hope y'all enjoy it, because I know I will be later with my cousins and shit. But it's May 25th, and Monday. I didn't have school today. So, in this video, I'm just going to be talking to y'all about the two most beneficial supplements slash like habits, I guess, you can do pre-workout and just like in general for muscle growth. As you see, I have one of them on the screen right here, bro. Damn, that smoke effect looks sick. But fucking pre-workout, bro. Pre-workout is probably the best supplement you can have just for like muscle growth in general. Like 100%. Besides like magnesium glycinate and like creatine and getting your vitamin D in, obviously like you want those in, but pre-workout itself is going to be the most performance enhancing supplement out there for you. Just because of the stimulants in it and the caffeine. I see pre-workouts that don't have caffeine in it, and at that point, what the fuck's the point? Like, sure, you have some L-citrulline, you have some GABA or some shit, but it's not gonna stimulate you. You're not gonna have that boost of adrenaline from the caffeine. That's the most important. You don't even need a pre-workout, just caffeine itself. Like, y'all seen I was drinking coffee. I drank coffee and I took a scoop and a half of that fucking Edge of Insanity shit. That shit is so strong. This lift, like I just felt so fucking hyped like the whole time. Just like I was flowing, just straight lasers. But if it comes down to it, pre-workout is probably the supplement I would spend y'all's money on 100%. Not only because of the performance benefits, but also the motivation. Like if you've ever taken pre-workout, like you know that like you feel more motivated to train harder in the gym because it's just a kind of like a placebo effect. Like it just makes you train harder because you like it. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but y'all know what I mean. Like that cranked up feeling on pre is amazing. But the one thing about pre-workout, especially if it has caffeine in it, make sure you time that shit right. Because if you're taking caffeine like 8 hours before you go to sleep, that shit is still in your system. It's a half-life. So it's gonna stay in your system, it's gonna disrupt your sleep. That's why I primarily switched to lifting in the morning. Lifting in the morning is so much better for me personally because it's more peaceful. It's also more enjoyable, and I get to take my pre. And it's less empty. Like you get all those pros. A pre is kind of useless if you don't have this other thing, and y'all seen it coming. Pre-workout carbs. Also post-workout carbs. We're gonna go over that later. But caffeine itself, y'all, if you didn't know, it doesn't give you more energy. Caffeine itself doesn't give you more energy. You might feel like you have more energy, or you might feel more alert, or you get more adrenaline. That is true. But you technically don't get more ATP from it. Caffeine itself, what it does, it blocks adenosine in your system. So basically, adenosine's like the tired signal, I think, that goes to your brain and it shuts down or reduces ATP production. But caffeine itself just blocks off those receptors, those adenosine receptors. So technically, it's not giving you more energy; it's just blunting fatigue. That's why, like, once you take caffeine, if you guys ever realize, your lifts will probably go up. Like, they will probably go up. It's not because you have more energy, but it's because you're blocking your fatigue. It's blocking fatigue, literally. That's what it's doing. But overstimulation of it to a point is bad. I think that caffeine is one of those things that you kind of got to experiment out like with. Like, I honestly think to a point, taking more caffeine is always better. Up until a point. Because obviously you don't want to take like 600 fucking milligrams, 500, but I think around like 400, if you can tolerate it and you get the anxiety from it, and take it at the right time, like I don't see why not. But that only applies to if you're having this other thing, pre-workout carbs. That is what's going to give you energy. Pre-workout carbs, they just rip off your liver blood glucose. So they're not primarily filling your glycogen like in your muscle, which is just glucose form like sugar in your muscles that gets used. That's not what's really happening. The point of pre-workout carbs is to spike your insulin before you work out and have your liver dripping glucose into your bloods and into your blood cells and your muscles. That's the main point. It's not to refill your glycogen. If you see like those glycogen refeeds, like that's a whole different thing. We're gonna get onto that after. But that's the whole point of pre-workout carbs, just to top your liver or your liver glucose and your blood sugar. So insulin just stays into your I think it comes from your pancreas. Fuck, bio people help me out. It comes from your pancreas, and then it gets like transported. Also, pre-workout carbs, you don't need too much. I've been seeing people do like more than half of their carb intake pre-workout. Timing definitely matters, but what matters more is total carb intake throughout the day. So that's why, like, if you're in a bulk or into a deficit and you're having more carbs, even if they're not post or pre-workout, you'll still get the performance benefits. And another thing, a lot of people, myself included, you got to give those fast digestion carbs a time to digest. And some sources of those are like rice cakes, honey, cereal, candy, fruit, honey. Those are probably your best sources. You don't really want anything that's too slow, like oats or bread or potatoes before your workout. But those are especially helpful after your workout. Post-workout carbs is basically where you want to put most of your carbs at. That's because after you're done lifting, your muscles are more prone and sensitive, insulin sensitive to glucose because you just use glycogen and they're going to be in a prime state to absorb sugar and nutrients into your muscles. So that's why you want majority of your carbs actually post-workout. If you ever look into like the mirror, your workout, like you eat some carbs or some shit, you want two sources of carbs, by the way, y'all. You want glucose and fructose. Fructose obviously comes from fruit. Glucose carbs like rice cakes. Honey is like 50-50 as glucose and fructose. Sweet potatoes is where it's at post-workout. Rice as well. If you're cutting out, I recommend you doing rice. But you want both sources. You want fast-acting carbs and you want some slower digesting carbs. But glucose is mainly going to be the one that refills your muscle glycogen. So you don't want to just only slam fruit. That's why I'm saying like the animal-based diet isn't it. Because you're not getting any of those glucose carbs. Like fruit does have some glucose. It depends on the fruit. But most fruits are mainly fructose. So that's why you're going to want those other glucose carbs after your workout. And what I was saying to my point earlier was if you work out and then you'll eat a lot of carbs and you go back into the mirror or the scale, you'll realize your weight goes up. That's technically not fat. It's mostly water weight and just carbs filling up your muscles. So I think I don't know what it is specifically. But I think like there's a saying of like every 100 grams of carbs or some shit refills like 3 grams of water or some shit. Something like that. But the main point is carbs are king. And carbs and pre-workout together is how you get the max performance. Like those two mean everything. Performance is what we want in the gym. Because the better we perform, the more stimulus we get, and we got to recover from that by eating protein. And if we recover from that stimulus and we perform better, you gain more muscle. It's really as simple as that. Honestly, with y'all, what I do is I don't know if I've shown my updated pre-workout meal, but I have pineapple, watermelon, some dates, and cream of rice, but I don't really have that right now. So I do honey, and I'll with all the caffeine and shit. Make sure you stay hydrated, because if you take caffeine, it's gonna dehydrate you. So you're gonna want some sodium, potassium, maybe magnesium as well. Any salt-based electrolyte works. Even some table salt will work before your workout. That's another performance enhancer. So it's basically 3. But if y'all learned anything from this vid, like and sub. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. Peace.